Hello, and welcome to the Disability Myth. My name is Dominic, and I live with a fatal disease called spinal muscular atrophy. Together, my amazing caretaker, co-host, and best friend, Uriel, and I plan to debunk misconceptions, share our personal experiences, and shatter your expectations. But we're not stopping there. We're bringing in experts, thought leaders, and everyday people who are smashing through societal barriers, paving the way for a more inclusive world. Whether you're tuning in to learn, empathize, or simply to be entertained, the show promises to be an eye-opening experience that transcends boundaries. Because when it comes down to it, what makes us different is what makes us extraordinary. Welcome back to another episode of the Disability Myth. I am, of course, your handsome and humble host, Dominic Trevathan, and alongside me, as always, all reliable, consistent, handsome and hammy and humble Uriel. How you doing today, bro?
Pretty good.
Feeling
uh
froggy?
a little groggy. It's just the weather.
Oh no, I said
When
froggy because I'm feeling
froggy?
froggy. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I
I
guess a
don't know what
little
that
froggy. I
means.
guess my throat's a little sore, but I
Well,
don't think
no,
it's
because
any
like usually when people say froggy, they mean like, oh, you're feeling good, like you're ready to do
like
some
hoppity,
stuff.
like hippity hoppity.
Exactly.
Ready to jump.
Yes.
Oh shoot, bro, I
Because
don't got hops. Let me tell you, if I try to jump, I'd probably like tear an ACL. You know,
same, same.
like I like I'm youthful enough to move around and groove and like dance and like do a few good hops.
Oh, I've seen you. I've seen it.
Right, I'm like I wouldn't say athletic, but like I'm a little mobile, but if I push it too much, I can just feel my body. I'm like, oh yeah, if I push it too much, I might like tear an ACL or something,
Yeah, no,
It's like
no,
ooh,
no. You got more moves than like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, bro.
I feel bad because I don't know who John Travolta is. Hold up.
No, we lost the older audience. No, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, him, yeah. Okay, yeah.
He's like been doing like some Santa Claus commercial lately. I forget what it's for, some credit card, I think,
Oh,
where he
what's
goes
in your
around.
wallet?
Yeah, 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 Capital
Okay,
One.
yeah,
Yeah.
Disco Santa. Yep.
Damn, now they're gonna have to pay us for marketing.
I hope not.
What do you mean? We need the money, bro. We're broke.
Well, I guess you're right. I guess Capital One's all right.
What's in your
How
wallet?
could I forget the Pulp Fiction and everything? Did he get a hair transplant? Because like in some photos he's just bald, and then other photos he has like hair.
I
But
just
then for
assume
some,
people with money are all bald and just buy their hair. So
yeah, because right now we're talking about John Travolta's freaking hairline, but um, I'm looking at photos of when he was young in Pulp Fiction, and he has like a widow's peak, and then like now at like the age of 60 something, and I'm like, oh, bro, that's like his widow's peak is gone, and his like hairline has come down like an inch. Like, dude, something's up, you know?
you want to talk about hairlines? Talk about freaking LeBron James.
No, not really. I don't really want. I don't really want to talk about LeBron James. Nothing personal against him. Just like,
As if you know anything about LeBron, anyways, or
I don't.
basketball.
All I know is that he plays for someone. Oh, this is gonna go
Uh-oh.
live too. I'm gonna go. Oh shoot. Yeah, he plays for a team. All right.
Oh
He
yeah.
plays. He plays basketball. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. All
What's
right.
that sound effect?
That's me being nervous. I'm gonna get free. Oh, people are gonna come after me. I don't know anything about LeBron
No,
James.
we lost the basketball audience. No.
Oh, who cares? I mean, you care. I care, but I have icebreakers on here.
Yeah, you gotta ask our
These are like
icebreakers,
icebreakers.
even though we don't
Yeah,
have a
these are the
guest today,
icebreakers we do with guests, but
just you and I. So we'll ask them to each other.
but you already know the answer. Yeah, that's the question. Yeah,
Okay. Well, normally we ask the guest, pineapple on pizza, to which you say,
yeah. I
and
mean,
I
why
say,
not?
and I say, nah.
No,
How about we mix it up? Instead of
because
asking,
you're narrow-minded and unadventurous. That's right. I said it. That's right. You're
Actually,
you're just a hater, man. Like,
um,
if you have that much energy that you care about what people put on their pizza, man, then like, I
I
want to
don't
hear.
care. I don't care what you put on your pizza. I just don't like it on.
Oh, so pineapple on pizza is fine.
It's just not fine for me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
All right.
live and let live, you know?
Oh shoot, why'd you have to do that?
What?
Question. The next one. Uh-oh.
Jordan or LeBron? What do you mean? You don't know who Michael Jordan is?
Yo, dude, we've been over this, man. Is he in Space Jam?
Yes. Yes.
I haven't seen Space Jam since I was like five, dude.
You haven't seen the sequel?
There's a sequel? Oh no, dude, don't do this to me. You know I don't know shit about basketball. Don't do this to me.
So,
Oh
so
no.
Jordan was on the original Space Jam, the new one that came out like a year or two ago, I think. It's LeBron instead. But I haven't seen that one. I have not seen the sequel either.
Jordan or LeBron? I mean, I guess depending on the guest, that question could be a little too passionate.
I think if we're going off hairlines, I'm gonna say Jordan.
What do you mean, Jordan? Wasn't he bald?
Exactly.
Uh,
How can he have a bad hairline if he's bald? You know how you feel?
how can you have a bad hairline if there wasn't no hairline to begin with, I guess.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Okay. Well, now that we know each other better, is-
I think I know you too well.
should we go ahead and jump into today's topic?
Yeah.
On today's episode, I think we would like to touch on a subject that probably doesn't get talked about enough in our current culture and historically as well. That is mental health. So, whether you're living with a disability or not, I think it's safe to say that everyone has good days and everyone also has bad days. And it's important to understand what exactly in our worlds has the power to impact us on a daily basis. So, the myth that we want to talk about for today is this idea that because of our disability and the obvious kind of frustrations that come with it, I think the common misconception that outsiders may have is that if you live with a disability, you must also be depressed. Now, obviously, this might be true for some individuals, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of people for like certain periods of time in their life, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's true for everyone all the time, right? What is true is that living with a disability comes with challenging moments. And I think those are really what kind of fuel a lot of upsetting times in our lives, what may lead to things like depression. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. What do you think, bro?
It depends. All of you know me. Every time you ask me a question, I go on a rant about how it depends, and I go,
Yeah.
in your instance, you're born with SMA.
hmm
This is your normal,
It's it's really
right?
weird. It's
Like
weird
you're used to it.
because like I'm used to it, but at the same time I'm not, right? Because as we've talked about on the pod before, as I grow older, I grow weaker. Not as much recently because of being on Spinraza, but
Amen.
amen, bro. Um,
Shout
so
out Doctor. Um,
shout out Dr. Shay.
yeah, the UCLA area. Woo!
Shout out like literally all the doctors that like worked on that drug.
Oh yeah, you too.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Well, because he's the one that actually injects that into
Yeah.
your spinal cord. But yeah, no, I'm going off topic. Yeah, go on.
Anyways, so like let's take the time of my life pre-Spinraza, right? For example, I remember when I was a kid. you know, being upset about my disability. I remember talking to like my stepmom and my dad, specifically like saying stuff, along the lines of, I wish I could walk. I wish I wasn't disabled, you know, and it's kind of different because I wouldn't say stuff like that nowadays because I think I have a lot more what we would call, emotional maturity or intelligence. Just getting older, accepting my life for what it is, right? Um, but yeah, even still, now that I'm on Spinraza, like I was saying earlier, I do have good days and I do have bad days. So on the bad days, I might not be able to, feed myself my pills in the morning. I might need some more help with that. And that's really frustrating. That's never a good start to my day, you know? No one wants to go through a day starting off not being able to do what they're normally able to do.
Hmm.
That's, not ideal. So,
This is frustrating, yeah.
exactly. And that's what I mean. Like,
Like the closest thing I got to that's like when I wake up and like the blood circulation is weird and I just feel like a little weaker and I
yeah,
like my like you've seen me in the morning like my balance and everything's all off, but
I
that's something
probably
that's temporary, you know.
I probably have more balance than you when you first wake up.
Dude, yeah. Oh man,
Me wakes up Uriel to like help get me up and dressed. Him slaps me on the face, trying to like pull the blankets down.
yeah, I never do it on purpose. It's like I'm just trying to grab it and like do my hands just aren't working in the morning. And like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I know the feeling, brother.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, like, I think everyone that's an outsider, like, kind of looking in, might see a physical disability, like a visible one, right? And our differences in regards to that. And I think it's important to make people aware because of our differences physically, not only like appearing to other people, but like in our day-to-day lives. It's important to understand that I think people living with disabilities have to kind of compensate in other aspects, right? Like I was talking about earlier, having emotional maturity is really important. Being able to be a strong communicator, really important. So those are kind of like I think the main things we wanted to talk about today. Um, Starting with the emotional maturity, right?
Yeah. Because I believe originally when we were writing this episode, someone had brought up emotional intelligence regarding disabled people. And I believe we both disagreed with this whole emotional intelligence thing because we thought it was a little unnecessary to like label it emotional intelligence because we argued that self-awareness and emotional maturity equals emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
Right?
something
Because
along
like
those lines.
yeah, because those things require like just already like self-awareness already requires I wouldn't say like superpower, like supernatural, just like being self-aware and like, oh yeah, what I'm doing is wrong. It's like, oh, this is right, this is wrong. That like, oh, what I'm doing causes this to people. Like that
Yeah.
already innately means that you already have like a slightly higher sense of emotional maturity than most people. I don't, maybe not most people. I'm not trying to generalize here, but right, you're more in tune with your emotions and like how other people feel.
I think specifically because of just the nature of my condition, I have to be more aware, self-aware of myself and self-aware of like or aware of myself in relation to other people around me.
Right.
We were taking a walk the other day and town was really crowded.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
kids all over the place. I'm trying not to dome anybody
Little
that's like
ankle
under
biters.
4 feet with my table.
Oh, yeah.
And so, just that's like a kind of, I think, epitome of what it's like to need that self-awareness because not only do I have to be aware of where I am on the sidewalk, I have to be aware of where other people are on the sidewalk. I have to be aware of the
Little
direction,
dogs.
the direction that they're going on the sidewalk.
Oh yeah.
I have to be aware if they are unaware, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
And, all that on top of, making sure I'm not falling off of a curb, making
yeah.
sure, you
You're not
know,
running over someone's dog.
I'm not running over a dog, making sure there's not like a big bump that I'm about to go over like at full speed. So,
You have to constantly be calculating. For those that don't know, like his chair, he has a little tray attached to his power chair, and it's at perfect growing ouchie height and like
growing
child.
ouchie.
Well, yeah, because it's like like your chair, like the tray, it's elevated to the point where if you turn without noticing someone, you could just bop them
Yeah,
and they're growing. And
yeah.
it's happened to me a couple of times and it hurts quite bad. That and then also like a little kid, right? Because they're around that like 4 foot, whatever.
Hmm.
So you, like if you're not paying attention, or if the kid's not paying attention, they could just full on sprint and like bonk their head against your tray.
Yeah.
You know?
That's happened like at Disneyland. I've had some close calls in like
Oh
really,
no.
really crowded areas where kids are just running around and like, you know, I don't want to hurt them or anything. So I have to just stop moving like on a dime. Otherwise, they'll just run into me.
Right. But then we also have written down here that like self-awareness, because you have to be so cautious and constantly uh scanning your environment and
Mhm.
traversing your environment and all these things. Like you're all self-aware of it. It could be what like mentally exhausting over time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then being self-aware of not only your own emotions, but like the emotions of your caregiver, like me, grandparents, guardians, other people,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's
And
like we
then
talked about with Chelsea on the caregiving like relationships episode. You have to kind of be in tune with not only yourself, but the people helping you because them helping you is dependent on maintaining, good relationships.
right now,
So,
I'm not so I know the whole like correlation doesn't equal causation, but you can make the argument that in your situation, being hyper aware of not only your emotions, emotions of the people that take care of you, and like every time you go out, being hyper cautious about your environment and everything, all of that can over time exhaust you quite a lot.
yeah. And I think for me
And
personally,
it's like
I'm,
oh yeah, go on.
I was just saying, I think for me personally, it just might be that I'm kind of used to it. I don't even think about it anymore.
Okay,
But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying.
right, but for some people in the power chair situation, now again, I never try to generalize, because some people might not have similar issues to what you have or similar experiences. But for some people, like wheelchair users that are hyper aware and like all these surroundings and all that, and like get the stares and the looks, whatever, over time, other people helping you, they get exhausted. People helping you sometimes get emotionally exhausted. You get emotionally exhausted,
Yeah.
constantly like looking for cracks, bumps, right? All of these could, again, correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation, but all these things can kind of build up on top of each other and lead to some some form of depression.
Yeah. Or like not even depression, but just being bitter in general, I think
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah.
I used to go to like elementary and junior high school, I think even high school for a brief period of time when I lived in Oxnard with someone. I think he had muscular dystrophy and he was like one of the most bitter, just nuisances of a person that I ever like knew. And I would talk to his aide because sometimes we would, switch aides during lunch breaks for the aides. So if his aide was on lunch break, then my aide would go help him and vice versa. So like his aide would talk to me because I was always super chill and he would tell me like, he's just really bitter, like because of his disability, blah blah blah. Like he gets really frustrated that he can't do stuff and he just barks orders at people. And you know, I feel like that's kind of why I'm so chill nowadays. It's because I got that impression at a very young age how just I didn't want to be like that, right? Like
Yeah,
he was a really good example for me. It was a really bad example for me in the best
right.
possible way, right? That I didn't want to be like that. And so still though, like you say, it all kind of can add up and be a lot for people that deal with this type of stuff to just process, right, on a daily basis.
Oh, for sure. But, right, but even like on top of all that, right, you're still a human being like me, even though I'm not physically disabled. I still have to deal with the bullshit that is everyday life. Like calling people, doctor's appointments, insurance, driving, all that.
Yeah,
And just like my own mental health. Like, you know, just because you're like physically disabled, it doesn't you're just as susceptible to any other mental,
yeah,
right? You still have to deal with the same stuff that an able-bodied person would, but it becomes a little bit more frustrating because of the physical limitations.
yeah. Well, it's like I said in the opening, I feel like there's just kind of challenging moments at like any given moment you can experience, right? Like I
Yeah.
was talking about, I can just wake up and, you know, for me, I would say 8 hours of sleep is just straight up required for me to like
Yeah.
do what I need to do physically on a daily basis. If I get like less than 8 hours, it feels to me like I can't move nearly as easily. And so it all kind of compounds that same issue of just frustration, right? And I think different people may, you know, process it or experience that frustration in different ways. Some become bitter, some might get like upset and depressed, right? I think it kind of like you say a lot, it depends on the person and how it manifests with them. And I think a big part of just not only processing your emotions, processing your like frustrations is being able to have patience, right?
Yes.
I think that's something a lot of people might lack that are more bitter about the world and their place in it. I'm not trying to generalize. That's just something that I've noticed, like if you're not willing to be patient enough with yourself and those people that are helping you, then you're gonna kind of find yourself in a bad position, right?
Yeah, I mean, I learned at an early age, like if I'm an asshole, everyone's just gonna treat me like an asshole back,
Yeah,
so it's that kind of mentality
yeah.
where I was put in my place quite at a young age, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be a butthole, if that makes sense. And then some people would take it either or, where it's kind of like, oh, I was being an asshole. This person like retaliated in the same way back to me, and I got mad. And you could either stay mad and try to get back at them, or you could just let it go and
Yeah.
realize like where you did wrong. It's like, oh, like that person probably wouldn't have responded to me like that if I,
That's that's why I try to, say perfect example, live and let live. If you want pineapple on your pizza, you know, do your thing, boo. Like I can't control you. I'm not trying to like get mad and like tell you you're wrong. Like just live and let live.
well, yeah, I mean, life's short. Like, why do I care?
Exactly.
Right? Like,
But yeah, and I think you had mentioned earlier, when someone is living with a disability, we're just kind of innately have to be more aware of ourselves and the environment, like we talked about. and this often results in like that higher than average emotional maturity.
Hmm.
Um, so to kind of answer that initial, you know, question or topic that we have written down here, how important is emotional maturity? I think it's extremely important, and it's extremely important regardless of your level of mobility, right? Able-bodied or not, you can't just sit there and cry if you can't physically do something, right? Everyone has kind of hurdles they have to face throughout the day. For me, it might be that, I physically can't get up and go to the bathroom myself, and the solution to that involves asking other people to help me. And so that's where I feel like a lot of that patience, that emotional maturity, self-awareness, it all kind of comes into play because yeah, you can't just, not go to the bathroom. Like,
Right. I mean, you just, yeah.
so with all that being said, do you think people living with disabilities might be, more inclined to experience depression because of all of that or as a result of all of that?
See, this is a tricky one because I acknowledge the fact that their daily routine and the things that they deal with are much different from mine. But at the same time, they're people still, and they still have to live their lives. They still have to work. They still have to do stressful situations.
Hmm.
You know, like the human experience is the same regardless of disability or not. Now, I mean, I'll agree that there's probably more reasons that could contribute to a decline of their mental state on their end than mine. For example, your SMA,
Hmm.
right? For me, the thing I have to worry about is, you know, it's how do I explain it? It's being able-bodied. I still have to drive, and driving's really stressful. And then some idiot could just crash into me, like without, out of my control,
Yeah.
right? Stuff like that. As I get older, my joints, everything's gonna get worse, the body starts to break down. So I
Yeah.
have that looming over me. But for you, the stress comes from not from driving, but putting your trust in other people to drive you around places. And again, we're still susceptible to the same stuff where
Hmm.
accidents happen out of our control. That
Yeah.
and you have to deal with not only aging, but also SMA,
Yeah. It's
right?
almost
So
kind of
I don't
like it's almost kind of like aging, but like from like the start of life, you know? Because you just experience that breakdown that much sooner. So instead of
yeah,
like
so
starting to feel like the effects of age at say like 25, 30, you
right.
experience it at like one.
Yeah, because like for me, like we're not too like we're still humans and we're still people, right? And we have our own thoughts, experiences. We're
Mhm.
not too dissimilar. But however, the major difference here is you have SMA looming over you, and I might not fully understand what that feels like.
Right.
What
Just
I
like I don't understand what it may feel like for you to like go through your daily life and like the stresses involved with that, right?
really see, but I would argue that like our daily stressors are more in common, right? That's the thing. Like
Hmm.
we have a lot more like I'm not trying to focus on how do I word this? We're very, very similar, except
Hmm.
for a couple of things, and those things are regarding disability. For example, a
Yeah.
wheelchair user has to climb into their car, fold their chair, and do a whole thing. I don't
Yeah.
have to do that.
I think probably like an even better example is, I need someone to help me use the restroom. You don't,
Yeah,
right? Like I need
right, right,
someone.
right, right.
Okay, I'm gonna get a little TMI here. I need someone to help me undress, help me put my penis in a urinal just so I can urinate, right? Like not the average person, or not average, but an able-bodied person never has to deal with that. And subsequently, the anxieties and the stresses that come along with it, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
like if you were not how do I want to say this? If you're able to use the restroom yourself unassisted, why would you purposefully have someone else help you with it, right?
Yeah.
Not like likely nothing good would come of it, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think
Yeah. And then for you, it's just part of your daily routine. Like you're used to it. It's like, yeah, someone helps me to use the bathroom.
mhm,
But for some people who are probably like newly disabled, like car crash or whatever, it's very embarrassing and really frustrating to to be vulnerable and
mhm,
ask for help and like watch someone help you go to the bathroom.
yeah,
And like for you, I mean, I can't, I mean, only you can tell me, or only you can like describe it. But for me, if that were to happen to me, I would go through a small phase of like, yeah, depression. Like, this is pathetic. Like, I can't go to the bathroom on my own. Like, I'm dependent
mhm,
on other people, and that would get to me.
yeah,
Then after a while, I would get used to it, and you're used to it. So those are
yeah,
the things I'm trying to describe where like disabled people and able-bodied people, similar, we both have to live life. We all have a lot more in common, but the things that we don't have in common are little things like that.
right,
Isn't it right? And like those little differences could, depending on the individual, contribute to a decline in their mental health.
yeah, or just being upset in general. Because like
Yeah.
that's like I was saying, if you weren't otherwise needing someone to help you and you suddenly did, you
Yes.
know,
Right.
that's it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And then I know I think you're mostly used to it, but like, how has it declined your mental health? Do you think this idea of
Um,
I know we've discussed the burden complex before,
mhm.
and I feel like receiving help is more of a burden complex than an actual. Oh, you can describe it best better than I could.
Well, I'll just say this. When I have a new caregiver on my team or like someone new that I haven't had help me before, do intimate stuff like that, like help me use the restroom, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna lie, it's a little weird, you know?
Yeah, because it's a brand new person, and like you know,
Like
you
I
just
just met you. Are you gonna help me go pee, It's gonna be a
yeah,
good time.
right,
It's always a little awkward, you know, especially like some people I feel like are more cautious than others, I'll say. Like I've had some nurses be like, "Oh, do I just grab it and like, you know, put it in?" I'm like, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Like, it's not weird.
yeah,
That's just how it is. And like moments like those always kind of give me so much anxiety because I'm like, oh, this is so weird. Like, oh, why did we just have to communicate all that? Well, we could have just, you could have just done it without bringing up anything, you know?
right. But again,
'Cause
emotional maturity, like over time, you
mhm.
know, they're medical professionals. It's like
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's
you're gonna. I think as long as you're direct with them, like, hey yo,
yeah,
please
that's
don't don't hurt my tool, please. Like
my
be
tool, which
like
has happened. It has happened. I will say that. Yeah,
right. And
that's
I think
that's
that's
when
like
it's really
that
important to have that emotional maturity for stuff like that. But I
right. You have
can't
to
just
like you have to like slam your foot down. No pun intended. I'm sorry. And like, yo, like when you handle my shit, like, could you do it like this, pretty please? Right?
you
Hey.
just said, "Can you handle my shit?"
Oh yeah, all right. Like, you be gentle with it, please, right?
Oh
And
man,
as long as you're like direct, like out the gate with it, it's like it's a
yeah,
lot less awkward. But I can
that's
understand because I don't know what it's like to have someone like do that to me.
don't
You
get
know,
any funny ideas now, buddy.
hey, but some people in the like if listening will, but I
Yeah,
mean, no, I stand up and I hold my own thing, right? But some people don't have that luxury.
for sure, for sure.
Well, I think we already said it. Like if you're newly disabled, that could contribute to a decline in mental health.
Oh,
Just a lot of
definitely.
things. Yeah, because we've had this discussion before where you were born with a SMA, so you just got used to it over time.
Yeah.
But it used to the fact that you were different in comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Hmm.
Because you would compare yourself to other children, and then you would only focus on what you couldn't do,
Hmm.
which is debilitating
Yeah.
and contribute. Now, I'm not saying you were depressed, but it could lead to depression or other forms of mental health
Hmm.
because you're focusing on the negativity and the things that you can't do.
Right.
But I would argue that you've more or less have overcome that.
I like to think so.
Oh, how about this? It's an ongoing battle. How about that?
Yeah. Well, it's like we've been saying, good days and bad days, right? So,
Right.
but I think another big aspect of this, of, dealing with upsetting moments and depression possibly for a lot of people, and I think you had initially brought this up when we were discussing, but this idea that if you're not feeling fulfilled with yourself in your life, then you're gonna feel empty. You're gonna feel
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
purposeless, right? Adding on to, the anxieties of having a stranger help you take a pee pee.
Yeah. Right.
If you don't have a purpose for your life, if you don't have something that you're dedicated to that brings yourself meaning, then I think that's another big aspect of it too, right? Because at least if you have something worth waking up for, worth doing with your life, I feel like that kind of makes all the other stuff, a little less upsetting. Like it's kind of worth it, right?
Yeah.
I get up every day, go through the same routine of having someone else help me with the most intimate of things for my care. I get up, eat breakfast, do my treatments, and I try to be productive and do something that will benefit other people, which is like the podcast, which is, just advocacy in general. I may not be like the most loudest person or like the most influential person, but I kind of like to think that every little action I take to raise awareness for those living with disabilities makes it so that those daily frustrations I go through are worth it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, that's just humanity, man. It's like whether or not like all humans are susceptible to the same like mental shenanigans where even I as a able-bodied person, if I wake up and I have nothing to work on or something that's like bigger than me or something that brings me joy
Yeah.
or that self-fulfillment, I just feel terrible. I just feel like, oh, what's the point of it? I'm just like kind of like living my life doing the same thing over and over and over again. But, and then establishing goals, it's like, okay, what do I actually want? It's okay to be a little selfish. Like, what do I actually want from this crazy thing called life?
Hmm.
Then how do I get it? And then will that thing fulfill me? Right?
Right.
And um, it's hard for everybody. But I understand if a disability, it could be exceptionally, I mean, not exceptionally, but it could be more difficult
Yeah.
depending on the background, economic status. You know this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just like we've been talking about, there's all these little stressors that kind of pop up throughout the day, right? Or they can. I
Right.
think I think one of the main ones is, just other people. That I think one of the more common ones that I've experienced, and I think other people have too, is, able-bodied people um making like just I don't know how to say it, like smart little remarks, I'll say. Uh Stuff like, oh, do you have a license to drive that thing? Right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I find stuff like that personally kind of like cheesy. and I've heard it more than once, so it's quite annoying at this point in my life.
Well, it's kind of well, I mean, because I'm Mexican American, so when people hit me with those stereotypical like Mexican jokes, I'm like, haha, yeah, yeah, that was funny like 10 years ago. But like, I'm looking for like, if you're gonna make a jab like that, make it like creative and not so offensive. Like I'm looking for new material. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, do you have a license for that? Would you get a DUI? It's just like it's
Yeah.
like, how's the weather down there? I'm like, motherfucker. Yeah. Yeah, like, oh, right. Right.
Yeah.
Or
No, it's tough. You have to take things with a grain of salt. I think, when I was like in junior high, I was with a group of friends and there was someone in the group that we were talking with whom I did not know and they did not know me. They were just like a mutual friend of my friend. And so they were talking about some video game or something. I don't know, whatever, 12-year-olds talk about. And I jumped into the discussion. I said something, and the one kid that did not know me was like, "Whoa, you can talk!" And
oh,
this is before I even had the trach. I was just literally in a wheelchair, and that was
I think
it.
that would sting for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Damn.
stuff like that, like even at a young age of 12, I feel like I had to kind of develop that emotional maturity, that patience, take things with a grain of salt, because now that I'm older and I've studied people from different cultures and different experiences, you know, you come to the realization that we really do all have different experiences and we all come from different backgrounds, which influence our assumptions, the jokes that we make, the conclusions that we jump to. So, yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt, you know?
Yeah, it's I've had kind of similar experiences where um this is gonna sound really crazy, but it's I'm pretty sure some people could relate, but when you talk to people that were born and raised in a place that isn't super diverse,
Hmm.
and then they talk to you, it's kind of awkward, if that makes sense. Where, it's just like, right. And like, it's a similar thing with disabled people where people aren't used to seeing disabled people and they don't know how to act when they see you.
Yeah,
Like for me, it's like not as extreme because like, we live in Southern California. Everybody's seen me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
everybody's seen a Mexican, right? Right. But like, but some dude from the Midwest might be like really awkward with me because it's, because they might not fully understand like cultural differences,
Yeah,
right? But it's, at the end of the day, I'm just a human, man. Just,
yeah.
right. But I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, I think I liked it, like just kind of adds on to the point, you gotta take stuff with a grain of salt. You gotta be patient with other people.
but
Yeah, I think we kind of just covered a lot of little aspects of life that can be very stressful and challenging for everybody, not just people living with disabilities, right? Like anybody can be stereotyped or, judged, right? So, like we've been talking about, I think it's important to take things with a grain of salt, do your best to be patient with others. And I think it's important just to, um, be able to process like what you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. Take some time at the end of the day. Think about how your day went. Think about how it could have been improved upon. Um, if you had a bad experience, talk about it with somebody, right? I know like you're a big advocate of just talking to other people, even like therapy, right?
oh yeah.
So there's a lot of little actions you can take to kind of, I think, alleviate just the average stressors that happen on a day-to-day basis.
I guess what I'm trying to say is just shed any negativity, negative stereotypes as best you can, and just, tread, just be yourself, and just, any negativity, everything you thought about a certain like group of people, do your best to leave it at the door. I know it's very difficult if one was raised not to do so,
Mm,
right? But it takes time. You're right.
patience.
Yeah.
All right, then. If you liked what we had to say today and you're very patient and like our content, please
Yeah.
leave please leave us that rating.
Or
Nice
else
little review on Apple Podcasts would be
or
very appreciated.
5 stars only.
5 stars only.
It's
I think last time I said to leave a review on Spotify, but there's no like, comment or like review section on Spotify. So what I meant to
Wah, wah.
say was Apple Podcasts because there is a proper review section there.
Yeah. Is there really? Oh gosh.
Or you can always just, leave comments on like the YouTube video for this episode once it's up in the next day or two. And yeah, be sure to share with your friends and family. If you're not already, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook,
Wee.
and YouTube at
Wah, wah, wah.
A Disability Myth. All one word.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Peace and love and patience. And may the force be with you.